Does this mean on a research perspective, Sayyid, that we reject mutlaqan, that this is all made up, nothing ever happened? No, I don't think. If you look at our research and you look at kind of the work that we put in and kind of our research and what the Shia narrative actually is, not the Ghulat narrative, the Shia narrative. If you look at the actual Shia narrative, there is enough research to tell you that there was an altercation that happened outside the house with Host Umar, and they came outside the house in terms of a potential threat to burn the house, or if there's not a potential threat, at least a concept outside the house where they were telling Imam Ali to come and give bay'ah. We have enough evidence from the historical sources, but we can talk about that another day. But that's just kind of just putting it out there that we have enough evidences that something like that happened outside the house. And even an altercation with Hazrat Zubair outside the house. We have enough evidence for that. But we stop where the narration stops. We don't add.
Exactly.
But the narration stops, we stop.
Yeah, I mean, even the Ghulat, when they fabricated stuff, they always tried to search for something. Where there is smoke, there is a fire,
At times, exactly.
So what they did was that it's not that they just invented everything from thin air. There was something that happened outside the door, outside that house. And what you have in Sunni sources and also in Shi'i sources is this idea that the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, after the demise of the Prophet, they were gathering in the house of Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha, the Banu Hashim, and those sympathetic to the Banu Hashim. They were gathering in the house and they were having meetings and deliberations to determine the course of action to take.
And they were angry. They were angry.
They were angry and upset at the fact that the Khalifa had been chosen without them being included in the Shura. So there was a Shura that was hastily held at Saqifa, and the Banu Hashim, the immediate family of the Prophet, the tribe of the Prophet, were excluded. And the Banu Hashim were very upset. And so they were gathering inside the house of Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha to discuss with Imam Ali alayhi salam and Al-Abbas and other prominent elders over there. What should we do? Should we accept this election? Should we reject this election? What should be the course of action? Because what has happened is not right. We are the family of the Prophet. We should get to have a say, and we should get to cast our vote in an election. And
we have our candidate, Ali. Why isn't he chosen?
Exactly. No, he didn't even have the chance to stand for the.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the whole point. We want him to be the Khalifa. Give him a chance.
Exactly. So they were holding these meetings. But now once the Caliph came to power, the forces that were supporting the Caliphate were uneasy and anxious at these meetings that are going on, because they're wondering what's going on inside that house.
Some sort of rebellion going on. What is going
Right. And they've also not given bay'ah. Remember, Imam Ali alayhi salam and his Shia also, like Ubay ibn Ka'b and the hardcore Shia, did not give bay'ah to Abu Bakr for the first 6 months. But obviously, after the 6 months, even the earliest Shia sources, for example, Kitab al-Gharat by al-Thaqafi, he mentions clearly that Imam Ali alayhi salam went and gave bay'ah. But we're talking about the first 6 months. So immediately after the demise of the Prophet, there are these meetings happening in the house of Sayyidah Fatima, and the government starts to view these meetings as a threat to their stability and security and their legitimacy in a way, because they don't know what's going on inside the house. And they can't predict are they going to mobilize forces, they're going to challenge our election.
And actually, some narrations mention that Imam Ali and Hazrat Zubair were angry, and some narrations mention they had their swords.
Right. I mean,
it shows you there's a bit of anger going on, but when the Khalifa's party is thinking what's going on, there is something going on. They're angry. They're thinking, okay, there's a group of them. They haven't given bay'ah. Well, they might not know that, but I'm saying we know that today by reading the sources. Their swords, they're angry. The Khalifa's thinking, okay, what's going on here, right?
Right. Let me just clarify, though, that they were not planning anything. They were not planning an armed rebellion or anything of that sort. I mean, the Ahlul Bayt were very much about unity and keeping the law and order and safety and security. They obviously carried their swords. In those days, you would always have your sword with you whenever you were whenever you went out or you were on some important meeting.
Yeah. The only reason I stress that is because one of the narrations specifically says and they had their swords, Kitab al-Sunnah mentions, and they were angry. So I'm just being transparent. Do you get it?
Right. Yeah. No, so yeah, definitely. And the government was uneasy. These meetings are happening, and they didn't know what would come out of it. And so, at one point, the second Khalifa, Umar ibn al-Khattab, decides to take matters in his hands. And inshallah, in future sessions, we might cover the actual narration from the Musannaf, where that is.
Yeah. The Musannaf mentions the threat, Kitab al-Sunnah of Ahmed bin Hanbal's son, or is it himself? I think it's his son, or I think it's him. Is it? I forgot by memory. Is it his?
Al-Khallal.
Nah, it's not. It's either Ahmed bin Hanbal himself or it's his son.
Abdullah bin Ahmed.
Yeah, I think it's Abdullah bin Ahmed. He mentioned it al-Sunnah. As a mukhtasar, they come outside. Hazrat Zubair's in there. Hazrat Zubair comes outside. There's a skirmish with Hazrat Zubair. They take Hazrat Zubair's sword from him.
And they break it.
And they break it, exactly. And then after that, I think Imam Ali goes to Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr says, I didn't want it to be like this. And Imam Ali says, listen, you never gave us a chance, this and that. And that's where the narration kind of continues. I'm kind of just paraphrasing. That's where kind of the narration kind of finishes. So what we say is, as the early Shia narrative is, we're happy to accept what happened to what the narrations state that are reliable, not to add masala on it.
Yeah, so basically there was a dispute outside the house.
We don't deny that.
And voices were raised.
We don't deny that.
And in the narration of Musannaf, you even have a threat being issued that, look, if these meetings do not stop, I am going to burn this house down, including its members. Yeah. So what the Ghulat did was, this was an unmaterialized threat. It was a threat.
They didn't do it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's bad enough. We condemn the fact that this threat was made. Absolutely, this is.
Hazrat Umar should have not taken that course of action with the household of the Prophet. He should have had better intentions of them, or at least dealt with them in a more kind of loving kind of way. Because at the end of the day, whether the disputes with Imam Ali, Sayyidah Zahra are still in that house, so you have to take these into account.
And we do have to keep in mind that the strict scholars of Sunni and Salafi Rijal, they do not they raise questions about this narration as well. It's not completely flawlessly authentic in the sense that Aslam was not a direct eyewitness, but so it is circumstantial evidence. Yeah. But it is the kind of circumstantial. It is zan mu'tabar, yani it's something that's not too far fetched. So because
the Kitab al-Sunnah narration, that one generally it's considered okay.
Yeah, that's
the top part's narrated by Zuhri. The bottom part has muafqat because the chain connects. So you can kind of you build with the Musannaf, with that narration, with Tabri. If you add everything up, you can kind of get like you said, a zan
mu'tabar, which is compelling circumstantial evidence that something happened. As far as the threat is concerned to burn down the house, the strict scholars of Sunni Rijal will deny it because they will say that the person narrating it was not a direct eyewitness.
Yes, the whole debate,
Yeah, to which we can respond by saying that yes, he was not an eyewitness, but he was someone who met Umar and other personalities who were there at that time. So we cannot completely rule out the possibility that he heard it from someone who was there. So I mean, it's not slam dunk, it's not very strong qat'i evidence, as we would say, but it can qualify as zan mu'tabar. So that much we can accept.
We can accept that much via historical reading, that's something that we can accept. And a lot of the early Shia did accept that.
Yeah, and in that case, what we would say is that what happened was absolutely wrong. We would condemn it under with no uncertain in no uncertain terms. The house of the Holy Prophet and the house of his daughter and his door, these are very sacrosanct places. This is the house that the Holy Prophet used to stand in front of and say, Assalamu alaikum ya Ahl al-Bayt.
If we were there, we would be standing with the Ahl al-Bayt there. We would
Definitely.
Be with Imam Ali and Zubair.
100%, because that is our tashayyu, and that is why we identify with the early Shia.
We don't. So the case with the Shia is, if every year you done even though this is not the way to do it, because this is not the way of Ahl al-Bayt, but if every year you done Fatimiyya and mention the threat, even though that's in of itself not the way of Ahl al-Bayt and that's not really achieving anything, but at least if you done that, I would be like, at least you're narrating what happened.
Right. Yeah.
Well, at least if you would.
No, I would actually prefer that. We are not saying in any way that
we're not saying
that Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha should not be remembered. We absolutely believe. The Quran says, وَذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ Maryam. The Quran encourages us to mention, Allah says, mention Maryam in the book. So Allah likes that His pious and righteous servants should be remembered. But obviously, look at how the Quran mentions the story of Maryam. It mentions it in a way that brings out her moral excellence, her chastity, her piety, her virtue, her trust and reliance in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if our commemorations, instead of focusing on false and fabricated narratives that are designed to make people cry unnecessarily, if instead of focusing on that, we were to focus on the legacy of Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha, her life, her piety, her taqwa, her jihad, in her struggle to defend Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, her commitment to the deen, basically inspiring lessons from her life and legacy, that would be something we would all support and like to be a part of.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Many of the Shia, and we'll pretty much finish off with this, many of the Shia in their lectures in Fatimiyya actually do try and go towards this angle where they're just mentioning other things about Fatima, which is good. My problem is that there's always an elephant in the room, which is, imagine I believe that the martyrdom happened, but for 10 days I talk about how great she was and don't mention that. What do you reckon the Shia would say to me? They'll say, bro, why aren't you addressing the elephant? You're addressing everything, how she prayed, how amazing she was. You don't mention how she was martyred. So you're in a catch-22. The only way to move on and mention the fadail without kind of looking inconsistent is to say, listen, I don't believe in that. That's why I'm not mentioning it.
Exactly. And let me be honest with you, Sayyid Radha, I've been reciting Ayam Fatimiyya for many years. And when I used to recite Ayam Fatimiyya, the lectures, it used to be on women's rights in Islam, dispelling misconceptions that people have about women's rights, inheritance, testimony, all of these kinds of things that Islamophobes and anti-Islamic critics are spreading, that Islam is a misogynist religion, that promotes male chauvinism and all of that. And I used to use, the example of Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha and talk about the Quran and the Sunnah and the teachings of Ahlul Bayt and the maqam and status of women in Islam and all of that. And I never recited the incident of the door. And I imagine some of the audiences may have been restless because of that.
Yeah, did anyone ever ask you, did anyone ever ask or ever look at you like, when is it coming or not?
I used to get requests.
When are you going to talk about
makhsus, you're not reciting the makhsus masaib. Yeah. I obviously used to recite to the part until the threat, for which we have some compelling some compelling evidence. But beyond that, obviously, how can I recite something that I know never happened and that has been discredited and proved to be a fabrication by some of our greatest scholars of hadith and rijal? Yeah, and the only people who authenticate the Kitab Sulaim are extreme deviant akhbaris, who authenticate a hadith of Tahrif al-Quran, who authenticate that Imam Hassan alayhi salam was a serial divorcer, wal-iyadu billah, who authenticate other khurafat about Ahlul Bayt, like for example, Bibi Fatima, the narration in Al-Kafi that says Bibi Fatima used to hate Al-Hussein alayhi salam. So people who authenticate khurafat like this, if they come forward and tell me that the incident of the door is also authentic, does that have any value for me?
The guy that authenticates the Kitab Sulaim says, I also believe the Quran's corrupted. We say, what kind of mizan are you?
Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean? The fact that you're authenticating it, now I know it's false.
Exactly, yeah.
The opposite is the opposite. So yeah, no, I just wanted to kind of put it out there also for the kind of the viewers and stuff that there is a research there. We have done all the research. We're not, we know what happened, what didn't happen. But at least accept and funny enough, we'll end it with this. That is the Zaydi view. The Zaydi Shia, as a Quran, it's good for maybe 12 of us to know because maybe they might not know this and maybe Sunnis might not know this as well. The Zaydi Shia only affirm the threat.
Which is the only thing that you have some degree of compelling circumstantial evidence for. Beyond that, it's just complete fabrication.
Beyond that is when the ghulat come in.
Exactly.
That's where the reliable guys stop and the ghulat come in and we say, no, we're stopping here.
Yeah, but you already know the mindset that is producing these kinds of narratives. It's a mindset that is making Imam Ali sit in the lap of Bibi Aisha. So if that narrator then in the next page comes and tells you that, well, yes, Imam Ali also allowed Bibi Fatima to be beaten and to be whipped. Wal-iyadhu billah.
It makes sense after that.
Yeah, so it's all one and the same. It's the same diseased mindset that's producing these narratives.
I'm glad when you were reciting, said you actually didn't say this was a fabrication. Otherwise, you would also be Dal Mudil if you said it like Sayyid Fadullah. Sayyid Fadullah just done stuck in it. If you said it's fabricated, you would have been kafir. Forget Dal Mudil. You so yes, Sayyid, I want to thank you, Sayyid, really for coming today. I really appreciate your time. MashaAllah, I had an amazing research session with you, and I think what we need to do is we need to start doing more of this regularly, get more research sessions out. I know, MashaAllah, you're a very busy guy. MashaAllah, you put in a lot of work with your university and everything that you do. So thank you for taking out time for us.
No, I want to thank you so much for having me, for bearing with me, and for giving me the opportunity to showcase these very important and crucial evidences. I also want to join you in thanking Al-Islah and Al-Islah admins for giving us the platform to share the kind of research that I don't know of any other platform that would allow us to freely and frankly discuss this.
At least no Shia platform. Yeah, at least no Shia platform, 100%. Yeah. Thank you so much, and thank you so and appreciation from the Al-Islah team. And Sayyid Ali Hur, inshallah, in the future, it's still Fatimiyah, still other lectures. Hope you have some more surprises for us. You never know, we might, in this time period, if you've got some more time for us, do come and drop some more knowledge to us. And inshallah, the viewers, and I hope that all the viewers have benefited today from our research session. Inshallah, we will be back soon, sooner than later, with our next topic. It might still be on this topic, it might be something else, depending on what we see the need for. But yeah, Sayyid, we're gonna leave it there, Sayyid. Thank you so much for coming on, Sayyid.
Inshallah, my pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sayyid. So viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, we will see you soon. And don't forget to like and subscribe on the channel. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.